Good afternoon. This is Ryan Parker doing a fire prevention video for the Fire Prevention and Code Enforcement class with Columbia Southern University. Um, in this video, we're going to discuss and identify the basic concepts of education, enforcement, and engineering. Research has shown that it's best to prevent a fire before it happens. We can achieve this by using the three E's, which is education, enforcement, and engineering. In the education, we get to teach our people in the community how to prevent fires and what to do in the event of a fire. Enforcement, we got to have people out there enforcing the fire codes. While the buildings are being designed and built, we got to ensure that the work is done within the required fire codes. Then, once construction is completed, we got to get out and make sure that the fire and safety codes are being followed and enforced. In the engineering facet of it, we got to make sure that the buildings are being designed and built that are safe from fire and are using the best building practices to resist fire and prevent great loss from fire. Now, in Florence, Alabama, the building department enforces cities' adopted building codes, which also include the local fire codes. The types of tests that are used to determine fire ratings of certain building components and materials. Uh, the main tests used to determine fire rating of building materials and components are the ASTM E84 and the ASTM E119. The E84 measures how quickly a flame spreads and how much smoke is produced, whereas the E119 measures how long a structural component can withstand a fire. All right. How fire test and fire ratings apply to inspection and code enforcement in Florence. They are crucial to building inspection and code enforcement. The tests determine the level of fire resistance a building material possess and ensures that new constructions and renovations meet the local fire safety codes. Key aspects of the fire test and ratings for Florence, standard testing, building materials are tested in a local or controlled laboratory environment to determine resistance rating, usually measured in hours in accordance with the ASTM E119. And then also the local building codes here in Florence also specify the required fire ratings for different building components based on the buildings used, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial. And the inspectors will compare the fire ratings of the materials used in a building to the code requirements. Uh, and then they do a plan review before construction begins. The plans are going to be reviewed by the fire department to ensure proposed materials and design meet the fire code, including fire ratings for various building elements. Uh, Characteristics of unsafe structures in the Florence area as they relate to code requirements. In Florence, unsafe structures typically exhibit characteristics such as significant structural damage, deteriorated foundations, compromised load-bearing walls, inadequate ingress or egress pathways, faulty wiring, and missing or damaged fire protection systems. Structural building construction types in the Florence area that poses the biggest hazards for potential conflagration and fire spread. The typical construction type in this area would be the wood frame construction, and that's the biggest threat in Florence. It's made out of mostly lightweight manufactured wood, which is, as we all know, highly combustible. All right. Plan, review, and structural control as a means of fire protection. Implementing a robust plan review process alongside structural control measures as a fire protection strategy would enhance the safety of potentially unsafe buildings by identifying and addressing structural vulnerabilities that could compromise safety during an incident, and ultimately minimizing fire risk to occupants as well as our local firefighters.